Wake up, pal! You and me got work to do. Whoa, big fella! You got a name, Leadhead?
Call me Woody.
Wild Woody!
Well, here we are again with a game review, this time instead of some alienating hour-and-a-half-long modding video that appeals to only the hardest of the hardcore nerds. You know who you are. And this time around, we're taking a look at this abomination Sega shat out in 1995, when Tood was everything and gameplay meant nothing, at least to Sega, because if there was any quality control whatsoever going on there during this hectic time in Sega's history, it definitely wasn't for this game. And I only say that because this game fucking sucks in every single conceivable way except for maybe some of the music. But even then, most of it sucks or is such a short repetitive loop, it becomes suck quick as ever. Look, I've got a larger vocabulary than this. I'm not just gonna sit here and say everything sucks, but just so you know, almost everything about this game does suck. Now, when I first heard about this game and realized it was developed and published by Sega during the Tood era of the 90s, I knew I was going to have to check this one out eventually, and here we are. And boy, is this one way worse than I could have ever imagined. This was actually developed by Sega Multimedia Studios that was shut down after this released. Go figure. And I saw in the credits of this game a bunch of American-sounding white names, which is never a good sign for the quality of a game back in the 90s. Usually when you see names that aren't from Japan in the credits, you run like hell in the other direction. At first I assumed that this was trying to rip off Earthworm Jim, which actually is a good Western-developed game and a rarity at the time, and it very well may have, seeing as how I wouldn't be shocked to learn Wild Woody was developed and released within 3 months. I'm not saying that's the case at all, but there was only an 11-month gap between the release of Earthworm Jim and this, so if they ripped off my boy Jim, they did it fast. Okay, so the protagonist that you play as is named Wild Woody. Now, if you don't get that reference, that's a dick joke right there, and it's a really funny one, too. But there's also a story to this game too, and I'm gonna go over that very quickly. So some archaeologist guy comes back to his office and he's got a mini totem pole, right? And he sets this artifact on his desk and then he leaves. What he doesn't know is that this totem pole comes to life when all the stars align and all this crazy shit happens. Well, the second he leaves his office, that's exactly what happens, and this totem pole comes to life and it splits off into 6 different pieces, 5 of which go into different artifacts around his office, and those will consist of the levels you'll play through later. All right, but then the 6th piece is still sitting on the desk, and it's like, I want all the other pieces back. I need something to go and assemble these, or get them back and then assemble them for me. So he sees a pencil and he's like, all right, I'll bring this pencil to life. So he does some magic, Wild Woody is born, goes absolutely fucking apeshit crazy, and then goes adventuring trying to find these pieces. That's the story right there. That's all I care to go into, because 1, that story is stupid, and 2, this game is stupid. Let's go into the rest of it. So Woody has some sort of brain damage, and because of that, he's insane in every cutscene he's in. Here's a couple clips just to get it out of the way so we don't have to do it again.
And while I was out, they got me some sushi. Assume the position, pitch boy!
Well, this looks like a job for Woody.
Wild Woody!
Turn back, pencilnet! I am all powerful! You haven't seen my abilities, and you haven't got a chance!
Ability and chance. It's got nothing to do with it, bright boy. And the name's not Pencil Neck. It's Woody! Wild Woody!
Jesus Christ. Anyway, that was the 90s right there, if you can believe it. That was actually considered cool by some people, mostly just people at Sega. When the game starts, you begin in Pirate World, a very generic-sounding stage in a generic game about a pencil with attitude. This level is exactly as uninspired as it sounds. Pirate ships and pirates that want to kill you. Enemies are constantly throwing tons of shit at you. I can't even stress enough how much shit is constantly flying at you in this game. It's like starring in a bukkake. Enemies are always attacking you from all angles, shitting stuff down upon you, cannonballs raining down on your head randomly while you're trying to move, fire everywhere on the ground that Woody fails to jump over properly. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's garbage. And the entire game consists of this gameplay loop, stage after stage, until you get to a boss battle or a bonus round to break up the monotony. Your health is measured as a percentage in the top right corner. You start at 100%, and as the game stumbles on, you can watch this drop to 0 within a matter of seconds in any given stage because the balancing here is so outrageously bad. Oh, also, unless you're blind, you can probably tell that this game looks like it belongs on the NES, not on the Sega CD. The graphics here are straight vomit, and I don't think there's anything redeeming about them whatsoever throughout the entire game. I'll give it this one bit of credit though. As annoying as the cutscenes are, the animation of Woody in these scenes is impressive for the time, but that's the only positive here. As a sentient pencil, your mission is to collect pieces of paper or sketches or other various power-ups like health while attempting to erase the bad guys with your ass. If you collect any sketches, you can press start and select the sketch, and Woody will shrink in size. That is the only thing these sketches do, and this allows Woody to fit into tight spaces he otherwise wouldn't be able to in order to collect more power-ups. It's all as lame as it sounds, and it will only take a few moments after being thrust into the game before you realize that the controls here pretty much don't exist. Woody controls as good as a cat on a leash, which is to say the control is a joke. Many times he straight up ignores your commands and does not do what you want him to do, probably because he's got a ton of tood and nobody tells this pencil fuck what to do. With the controls, you'll find nothing is consistent. Jumps are erratic. Sometimes he'll jump far, sometimes he'll stop mid-jump and fall straight down for no reason. Sometimes he'll jump high, sometimes he won't. Sometimes he won't jump at all. The same holds true for the erase move. You'll jump over an enemy and try to erase them and he'll straight up ignore your command. Otherwise, he'll just do it without you pressing the erase button at all, which is nice of him, but many times he'll perform the erase move and he'll go right through the enemy with 0 results. But don't worry, you'll still end up taking massive amounts of damage while he does this. This is the core gameplay of Wild Woody. Jumping around erratically and nothing working at all while you consistently die and have to start everything all over. It's not really fun, in fact it's the exact opposite of what that is. This game sucks. Each themed level consists of 2 acts and a boss stage, as well as a bonus stage if you've collected all the jigsaw pieces in the first act of each stage, although I can't see why you'd want to do that and extend the length of this game in any way. But if you're a masochist, you can do that, and the bonus stages are neat enough looking. These bonus stages actually take advantage of the Sega CD special features too, like scaling and rotation, but they still aren't really that thrilling. You start the game with 2 lives. When those are gone, no matter what act or boss fight you are on, you get to start at the very first act on that level and work your way back through everything again. What a time it was to be alive back in 1995. I suggest if you end up defeating the boss of a level, if you don't have 2 lives or more remaining as you go into the next themed level, just kill off whatever lives you have to start the new level over with lives restocked in order to give yourself a fighting chance at completing it. The game will save your progress after you complete both acts and the boss of each level, but that's it. The stage design can be the biggest source of aggravation aside from the enemies puking shit at you every 2 seconds. Many of them are maze-like and it's difficult to figure out exactly where to go. Some areas just have arrows out of place, but they're there nonetheless, as I assume the developers realized their game doesn't make sense and nobody knew what the fuck to do, so they just threw in tiny arrows to keep things moving. The major issue that crops up is that this game relies pretty heavily on precision platforming, and as I mentioned earlier, the controls in this game are embarrassingly bad, so precise platforming has no place in this game, and yet it is everywhere. There are 2 areas that are the most egregious. First up is the second act in Mythical World. The idea here is to platform up Roman-influenced buildings and clouds higher and higher into the sky toward the exit. The problem here is when you miss a jump going from cloud to cloud, and you will miss plenty, you can fall all the way back down to the beginning of the stage to do it all over again, or fall directly into a pit, losing a life. Who doesn't love that? And in the final stage, Cemetery World, yes, that's really what it's called because the developers of this game were so creatively bankrupt they named a level Cemetery World. There are platforms with slippery moss on top of them that make jumping from platform to platform impossible, yet there it is. The devs thought this would be cute, as if jumping by itself wasn't garbage enough, might as well just go ahead and make Woody constantly slide off the platforms at light speed to waste your time and make the game more fun. And you'll also need to grab vines in this stage, and good luck with that, since Woody will choose not to grab them a majority of the time for no reason and fall down. The boss fights are one of the only saving graces in this game, and they make up maybe 2% of the overall gameplay, but half of the boss fights are actually somewhat exciting to play, and the other half, including the last boss that you need to have collide with a toilet, 4 or 5 times to beat him, and it looks like something straight out of an Atari 2600 game, is not very exciting to play, as you might have guessed. I didn't make any of that up. You literally have to have him run into a toilet to kill him, which is weird because there's nothing else like that in this entire game. Again, it feels like it wants to be Earthworm Jim, but doesn't know how. Maybe it was just an afterthought after the game was almost finished. Well, this game isn't finished. It probably needed like another 8 more months of development, so let's just say it was an afterthought as the game was about to ship. I'm probably showing some of the boss fights while I discuss this, but the bosses include a pirate skeleton, Zeus, a robot, a green alien with huge tits, and the final boss with 2 frames of animation who runs into a toilet. It's the only time this game is okay while playing it. This game is never great, but you can squeeze an ounce or 2 of enjoyment from these fights. I mentioned briefly earlier that the music is okay, sometimes, and it really can be. It's mostly hard rock or metal guitars, and I can dig that, but even if it's decent enough, the music loop is usually so short that the song will become irritating within a matter of minutes. There are a few overall really good tracks though. It's almost as if the composer didn't know what game they were making music for, because if they knew it was about a pencil with attitude, I doubt they would have tried as hard. Nobody else did, especially the sound design, because while the music can be decent at times, the sound in this game is god-awful. Enemies never shut the hell up, and sometimes there's so much noise pollution with multiple enemies on screen and Woody yelling out every time he takes damage, which is all the time. It's so overwhelming at times I felt like puking all over my living room, but I didn't, because I'm not giving Woody the satisfaction of beating me. Look, I think I've said everything I want to say about Wild Woody, so I'm just gonna stop here. I already know you're never gonna play this one, so who cares anymore? And I've already given this game way more attention than it ever deserved. Fuck this game, don't play it, and I hope Sega felt really bad about ever releasing this, but since it was Sega of America, they probably thought it was actually really good. Thanks for watching this one, guys. I will see you on the next video.